YouTube. Today we're going to take this old square body from this
to this. And before you say anything, yes, I do know that the cab lights aren't working, and I will fix them. So, this is obviously the after, but let's get it in the shop so you can see us do it.
So guys, you can see we've made it into the shop with the old square body 1 ton. And before we get to work, I'm gonna give you a little tour of this truck and a little bit of history, and just quickly, and then we'll get started and we'll tell stories as we're working. This truck is a 1985 GMC 3500, and it's a factory 350 4x4 4-speed. This was the old farm truck, and they quit using it for a long list of reasons. The two main ones being it just wasn't capable of doing what we were trying to do with it. We were hauling a lot of hay, and it was too heavy for this truck, and it would overheat and things like that. And the other reason was it was doing the death wobble, and they just didn't feel like fixing it. It was old already. So they replaced it with a modern diesel. That would have been back in roughly 2012. So it was a factory 350. And then probably somewhere around 2006, 2007, because I remember doing it with my dad. They put this 454 in here. They rebuilt the 454. They got it from got a donor truck from the neighbor, a 2-wheel drive camper special, pulled the 454 and rebuilt it and put it in this truck. And then used it for a couple more years, and then, yeah, replaced it with an F550. So when they replaced it with the new truck, they took the deck off of this truck and they put it on that F550. And so this truck was left without a deck, and it just got put to the side and never did anything with it. And I always wanted to drive it when I got my license, but my dad wouldn't let me because it did the death wobble and he thought it was just overall dangerous. And yeah. So it sat for a long time, and I would screw around with it, just fire it up and drive it around on the grid roads without a insurance or a license or anything like that. And then, so they parked it around 2012, and then I screwed around with it on and off till about 2016, 2017. And then that's when I graduated and moved out. My dad said, I'm gone, and the trucks can't be taking up space in the yard, and he made me drag it out into our junkyard. And there it sat until this summer. I decided to revive it, and I took a whole bunch of YouTube footage of it and put it back on the road. I built this deck quickly before I even had the truck drug out of the weeds. I built this deck, just rough dimensions, and brought it in the shop here and revived it. We put new tires on it, put a new seat in it, fixed the alternator and the belts. We did a whole bunch of stuff to it. And I took a whole bunch of footage for a YouTube video, and I started making a YouTube video, but I never really had a follow-up of the truck. And so I never did finish that YouTube video or post it. And I probably won't, because I just don't like the way the footage turned out, and I don't like the way my YouTube video turned out. So this is kind of going to be your first introduction to the truck, but we're going to be doing a lot of work to it on and off in the next little while. But before I yap too much and make this video boring, we'll get to work and I'll talk about the truck while we're working, and yeah, tell stories about it and then future plans for it and whatnot. But you'll see we got a bunch of steel in here. What I was unhappy, the two things we got to get done tonight is we have to build fenders for it. The reason I haven't built fenders yet is because I wanted to modify this deck because I don't like the way it looks. So we're going to be making an angle on this deck to here, like that. And then we're going to be building a set of fenders for it. And then we're going to be replacing these tail lights with some fancy taillight boxes that I made up. So first things first, we're gonna mark these boards so that we can pull them off and cut them. And then while those are off, we're gonna cut and modify the deck. And then once that's done, we're gonna build fenders. And then once that's done, we're gonna put our taillights on.
Beer cans and cigarette butts out there in the barnyard mud. Gravel drive pulling in and out these big block 4x4 trucks. Cussing at a busted knuckle, then we crank it up and get lost in that good old country blues. Trying to make a living on a shoestring. Dirt poor drain, what a long shot, here we go again. Gotta hold my breath and close my eyes and see if I can bring it back to life. Fired up and holding steady, something about a big block Chevy. It's going once, going twice, sold my soul to the devil last night. Hell, that's the way my granddaddy did it. Something about a big block Chevy. Wrenching underneath that hood, break it down, now I know it too good. Learning every last little thing until I'm working on it in my dreams. Getting down to that bare metal, brought back from the brink. Something about the old and the new, the pain and the joy and the work, all the blood and the sweat and the dirt. Hell, that's what I do. Gotta hold my breath and close my eyes and see if I can bring it back to through life, fired up and holding steady. Something about a big block Chevy. It's going once, going twice. Sold my soul to the devil last night. Hell, that's the way my granddaddy did it. Something about a big block Chevy. Yeah, that's the way my granddaddy did it. Something about a big block Chevy.
Alright guys, so it's a new day and we're back working on the square body. And it looks quite a bit different than from where I ended the video last night. I was having to do a lot of rigmarole getting these fenders bent up all straight and the proper angles and what that I wanted them at to fit nice. And so the battery died and it was just a lot of back and forth with the press and I didn't think it was worth filming. So I just let the camera die and I bent this fender and that was it for last night. So when I came back this morning, spent the whole morning cleaning up mud and bent the other fender and then started mocking up the taillights so that I actually had something to show you guys some progress. And I've got both the fenders fit and we have to change our plan with the taillights. So let me just show you what we got going on here. Originally, I wanted to mount this taillight back here on these two bolts where the old taillights were mounted to. But I thought this was gonna be a lot more rigid, the way that I built these taillights, than what they were. But when I mounted them through these two holes here, they were pretty wobbly and they would have just vibrated and it was no good. So I decided that we would weld them directly to the deck and they are really good and solid. Like I could probably stand on those. I'm not going to, but I probably could. So welded that on to the deck and this is actually better this way. I actually prefer lights on the deck because if I ever want to take this deck off and move it onto a different vehicle or sell it, I just got to unplug the lights and the lights go with the deck. The new vehicle or the new purchaser just hooks lights up to their new vehicle. So anyways, that's what it looks like from the back. And so I told you about our little plan that we had to build a step here that holds a 5-gallon pail. And so now this light being mounted here kind of puts a damper in that plan. There's not really room for a step here, but this is okay, I think, because you can always step here, but it also just looks a lot better with that light there. Looks goofy right now because there's no mud flap hanging from the fender, but this is definitely much better than the way it looked when I had it mounted here. I didn't take any videos of it mounted here because it just didn't even look good. But I have a 5-gallon pail here and it still will fit nicely in here. So I still can build a little. That was a big deal for me, having a spot to put 5-gallon pails conveniently to where they're not going to blow off when they're empty. So there is still room for that there. So our fender is fully welded on this side. And our taillight bracket is fully welded on this side. Everything's actually fully welded on this side. So this side is done. And I bent the fender for this side. It's got to come out a little bit. But I wanted to mock it up and see what it would have looked like if I had left this deck square. Because I kind of think that I cut too much off of this side. My brother came out today and he likes the way it looks with it cut. So I don't know. I could go either way. I do like it that way, but I also think it could have looked good this way. But I'm not totally unhappy with it. But yeah, so now we just gotta do the same thing we did to that side on this side. All right, and there she is. The finished product, basically almost finished from the back view. Even Nikki approves of it. So I finished up this side off camera, just because there wasn't really, I don't know, it wasn't really too exciting. So we did the same thing on this side that we did the other side. And then I put some mud flaps. These are just temporary mud flaps, which we made out of an old snowmobile track. But yeah, turned out good. And the only thing we have left to do now for this part of it is wire in the taillights. So I'm gonna get started on that. And just randomly we decided, my brother came out for the weekend here, and just randomly we decided that we're gonna take this truck to town. And to town, I mean to a city. And that's about a 1 hour drive each way. So this whole deck modification and taillights thing, that was gonna be it for my deal right now. And then I was gonna take the truck out of the shop. The rest of it I can do little bit by bit. But now that we wanna drive this truck, the 2 hour round trip plus whatever screwing around in the city we do, there's a few other things we got to address before we do that. So we're in the middle of putting on a fuel pump, we're in the middle of putting on a power steering gearbox right here. My brother's got this all torn apart. And then we also need to put on a fuel pump, and it does need a power steering pump. This one's making a tiny little bit of noise, but I need to borrow a power steering pulley puller, which I don't know, it's a little late. It's 7 o'clock right now. I don't really want to go down to the neighbors to borrow his. And I have to do a power steering pump on something else on another truck also. So I want to borrow it and do the two of them at the same time. And this power steering pump, it'll get us to Yorkton and back. So I'm not really too worried about it. It's just making a little tiny bit of noise, but it still puts out good pressure. So it turns and stops, because this is hydraulic brake. So it turns and stops perfectly fine. So yeah, we're gonna change this power steering pump, change the fuel pump. We're gonna swap the steering wheel, because I put well, you'll see what we're doing with the steering wheel. And then we gotta put a piece of cardboard in front of the radiator, because it's like, it's about -10 Celsius right now. And in the middle of summer, back when they were driving this truck, they always had an issue with the fuel boiling and it overheating. Not really overheating, a little, it would get warm, but mainly the fuel would boil. And they did have an issue with it overheating. I don't know if we can see real good in there. When they put the 454 in here, the fan isn't centered in the fan shroud, so it doesn't draw air through the radiator properly. So it had like I believe it had a 195 thermostat in it. So if you sat and idled in the middle of summer, even if it was 15 above, 20 above, or 30 above, it would even worse. But if you sat and idled for any amount of time, the truck would just overheat because it wasn't getting proper airflow. So to combat that and the fuel boiling, I swapped out the thermostat for a 160 degree thermostat, which this is 160 degree thermostat is no good for Canadian winters. I will have to swap it back out. Probably for, I'll probably put another 195 back in it. But I just threw the old one out because I suspect it was sticking because the truck would overheat on me. So I just threw it out, put this 160 degree one in. So anyways, for the trip tomorrow, temporarily till I get the proper thermostat, we're gonna have to tuck a piece of cardboard behind the grill, but in front of the radiator, block the airflow through it, and then she should get warm. She should stay warm. Okay, taillights are all finished up. Just soldered the last joint. Let's test them out for the camera. Okay, hit the marker lights, or headlights, I guess. Boom. Okay, hit the left turn signal, right turn signal, and we even got a little bit crazy and decided to put in reverse lights while we were here. Put it in reverse, Terry.
There, look at that. So we used up all the wires. Now we're gonna put all the planks back on it. All right, then you can shut everything off. Yep, turned out good. And what'd you do up here? What'd you do up here, Zane? You had a light?
New steering box.
Zane was kind of the hero of the show here while I was doing the easy work. He rolled around underneath.
New steering box is in. Still needs a new steering pump, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that later.
Yep.
And then the new fuel pump is in the process of going in.
40% done. Or less.
About that.
40% done. Okay, I'm gonna tape up these connections and then throw the planks on, and hopefully by that time Zane gets his ass in gear with the fuel pump and we can go home with this thing. It's only 10 after 9, so not too late yet.
Saturday morning in the summer, two brothers on the corner of a dead-end street. Stripped down Chevy 4x4, laying all the pieces out at their feet. Yeah, they don't always see eye to eye, but today, that don't matter. They're just out here turning wrenches, talking about girls, fishing, cussing up a storm and acting like fools. They don't care what you call it, it's better than fighting or not talking. They've had their fair share of both, but today is just brotherly love. Just outside of San Antone, two grown men working on a beat-up truck that daddy would be proud to see. They're both here today 'cause of him and mama's love. And they don't always see eye to eye, but today that don't matter. They're just out here turning wrenches, talking about girls, fishing, cussing up a storm and acting like fools. They don't care what you call it, it's better than fighting or not talking. They've had their fair share of both, but today is just a brotherly love. Brotherly love.
Yeah, what we'll do is not overheating.